E3 has come and gone. Most prominently, we got Star Fox, a new Metroid spin-off, and a new 3DS Zelda game. To discuss it all, we have 1010 Man, Nintendo Box, and Elijah Elfo. The title that stood out the most for me is a new Star Fox game. I am a big Star Fox fan, and this game looks like it's bringing the series back to prominence. But I was wondering, what are your impressions about this title?
Yeah, it looks really cool, and it is the shining light of the whole digital event. It's awesome, and I'm really happy to see that Platinum are the co-developer of it, because it pretty much guarantees excellence. You saw what kind of product they brought out with Bayonetta, and I know many people like Wonderful 101 too, whereas that wasn't my favourite game, but nevertheless they're a very talented developer, and what we saw was awesome during the digital event, and it was only reinforced in the treehouse later on with Miyamoto playing the game a bit, and we just got to see it, and it looks really cool and really promising.
I'm a huge Star Fox fan. I've been playing, that was my very first console game. I went back and I rewatched some of the stuff. I am a little bit concerned that Nintendo might be playing it a little bit too safe with this. I want to see more. They have me hooked now with the first trailer, but I'm still a little bit skeptical to what's going on with this game, because they might not be trying something too different. They might be trying too hard to make a Star Fox 64 sequel, and I want something that's new but still reminiscent. And I noticed some of the dialogue is identical to Star Fox 64, but I want to see how it unravels a little bit in the future. I'm afraid that they might just take the super safe route, and it's just going to end up being a mediocre game.
What about online functionality? And do you think Star Fox Zero will have online features?
As far as how Nintendo has been working with their recent releases, they've been having a huge push for Star Fox. Not for Star Fox, for online play. Nintendo's been having a huge push for online play, with Splatoon, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, and it would fit so well into this game. It would be silly for them not to put in like 8-man aerial combat, give us those big maps where we can fly, wherever we want and shoot each other down. It would make sense. There's a lot of opportunity there, and there's also not a lot of games that can really accomplish that kind of online that Star Fox could.
Yeah, I think that it could potentially be really awesome, but something that Miyamoto said today in the Treehouse Live kind of contradicts its existence, because he said at the moment they're concentrating on single player content and they have no plans for online multiplayer, which is a disappointment, but he did leave it open to potentially going back on that and actually making online multiplayer, although they're going to have to hurry up because it does come out the latter part of this year. But I think it could be really cool, and you could have the kind of dogfighting matches, and it would be just awesome. It would offer a new kind of experience that we actually haven't seen on the Wii U as far as online goes, and I would definitely want it. It would add a lot to the game.
Now let's get into a very interesting part of the Direct. Triforce Heroes. Now, this game has got me really interested. It looks like a mix between Link Between Worlds and Four Sword Adventures. To me, it's taken multiplayer Zelda and giving it a new push. So, any thoughts?
Hey, A Link to the Past is my favorite Legend of Zelda game. A Link Between Worlds was really good too. I'm all for expanding on, that style, and multiplayer would do it justice, especially since it's reminiscent of how, Four Swords works with that over-the-top viewpoint. There is a lot of options, a lot of opportunity, and we saw a few things that made it resemble, Four Swords, and there were a few things that set it apart. I think the biggest thing they're going to have to do, though, since it's 3 links, it's not 4 swords, and they have the whole carrying mechanic and stuff, they just need to have to do enough in this title to really set it apart from what they've done in the past.
I watched the Treehouse event where they were playing it a bit, but apparently, I think it's pretty much like just different temple layouts, and I think it's, for the most part, as far as gameplay wise goes, it's just majority of the elements from A Link Between Worlds added with some, puzzles built for this game, because one of the bosses, it literally was just a port of the boss from A Link Between Worlds, and they said that, except the boss was a little bit different. I'm kind of worried that it's just going to be almost just a port of A Link Between Worlds with co-op added. I don't think they'll do quite that. I'm just afraid that it's going to be too similar to A Link Between Worlds.
Nintendo's been known for reusing assets in their games. The bosses I'm not particularly surprised about, but they're really good at incorporating gameplay and different things into their dungeons, and I have no doubt that all the dungeons are just going to require 3 people and new items and new things around them. Boss fights, though, I'm not surprised that they'd be reusing them.
Yeah, I think personally it's going to offer a different experience from Link Between Worlds. I guess for some people worrisome that they are porting over some of the content from Link Between Worlds. But it will be personalised to that game, I'm sure. Also, it's something that could offer a different experience. It could be fun. One of the things that did catch my eye was when they announced proudly that this game had a focus on fashion. And it was one thing when they said it in Splatoon, and that was quite funny, it kind of fit. But here you could dress up Link with Zelda, and it was just weird. And I'm not sure whether I liked it, or whether I thought, why are you doing this, Nintendo? It was just a bit wacky.
What I found neat about Triforce Heroes is the totem mechanic, in which you have the 3 links hop on top of each other to reach previously unreachable heights. Also in the gameplay, you can see snippets of information, like Red Link is in danger, so obviously there has to be some sort of cooperation between the players in puzzle solving. Additionally, Hyrule Warriors Legends has been formally announced as well, so we have 2 3DS Zelda games coming out. So do you guys think that Nintendo is just focusing on the 3DS because of a larger install base, or is Nintendo trying to hold over Zelda fans to wait for Zelda Wii U?
I personally don't think they think of their IPs like that. I feel like the development teams come up with ideas, they come up with things that will work, and they will put the games out there. As far as giving the fans something to appease them, until a big title comes out, I don't believe that would be how they would look at things, because then they would be belittling their own games. They'd be belittling Hyrule Warriors and the new Legend of Zelda game on the 3DS. I feel like they get all these ideas, they just make games out of them. It would have been silly, for them not to port Hyrule Warriors. I mean, no one really expected it, because Hyrule Warriors is a pretty big game, and seeing it on the 3DS is a shock. But the fact that it's there, it's genius, because so many people are going to buy it and so many people are going to play it. And I don't think that has any effect on Zelda Wii U. I feel like they've just got so much to tackle with that game.
But it's definitely interesting. I like that they're adding the Wind Waker content in there. It's a worthy addition, because Wind Waker is such a wonderful game. It's my favourite Zelda game. And with their record on the Wii U of supporting Hyrule Warriors so well with the DLC and then the vast free updates, which actually we've got one in the past about 5 minutes, which adds classic Link as a costume. And just little stuff like that really just makes it better, and I can see that kind of support being added to the 3DS version, and it's just quite refreshing to see.
I'm starting to wonder, though, how far behind they had to have been with Zelda Wii U to actually delay it. That could have been possibly a strategic move. I don't know if Nintendo's lineup this fall is as big as they think it actually is. If they think they have like a huge killer lineup this holiday, they need to think twice.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. I don't think it's anywhere near as big as they think it is, and while there may be some credence to that idea that they tactically brought it back, I think that it would be the wrong move, because Hyrule Warriors 3DS, or what is it called, Hyrule Warriors Legends? That seems like a last minute move from Nintendo and Koei Tecmo. Obviously they've been working on it a little while to get those characters going, but with it being released in 2016 and effectively just being an expanded port, it does seem a bit odd to me that it's been announced this early.
I feel like a lot of us are discrediting what's already been announced and what to expect. Yeah, this E3 was underwhelming, but we have Yoshi's Woolly World, we have Star Fox, we have Xenoblade, we have Mario Maker, and there's probably a few things I'm forgetting. Every holiday season for Nintendo, we usually get a Mario game. There's a Mario game that comes out in November, but I feel like we actually do have a lot of quantity this year. I just feel like it's not the kind of quality people are looking for, at least hoping for, and I feel like people are scattering around and panicking because they're talking about the NX and they feel like the Wii U doesn't have a lot of life left, so they're really reading into everything that comes out. But as far as games to play, I think there's plenty of stuff. Whenever you get down about this E3, just think about Xenoblade, man. that in itself is going to be hundreds of hours.
Oh yeah, well that's a good point. I mean, we have got big experiences, a few big experiences like Xenoblade on both the Wii U and 3DS, which will take up a lot of our time, so you don't really need that many games anyway.
I am glad you brought up that point. The thing is, I watched the Direct with preconceived notions of seeing something undeniably spectacular. For example, a new Metroid, Paper Mario, and Zelda, and largely all of my demands were met. But they were met in an unconventional way. We did see a new Metroid game, but it was a Metroid spin-off known as Federation Force and Blast Ball. Blast Ball was first revealed at the Nintendo World Championships. Mobius from Twitter has pointed out some really neat things. In the background, you can see the letters known as GFS. This is an acronym for Galactic Federation Ship, which is used to designate space vessels in the Metroid universe. For example, the GFS Olympus and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. So there was a Metroid connection from the start. In regards to Federation Force, you seem to play as an elite squad of Federation troopers. I know this game is receiving a lot of criticism, so I was wondering, what are you guys' first thoughts?
Honestly, I wouldn't get your hopes up. I'm looking at it like I would Hyrule Warriors, or like I would any other game that kind of is involved in the Nintendo universe, but it's there to encourage fun gameplay. Like, it looked pretty arcadey to me, and that's not a bad thing. It's like you go in with your buddies, you play some games, you have some fun, but I honestly don't feel like there's going to be a lot of story to that game. I just feel like it's inspired by Metroid. There's going to be a lot of assets there. And sure, we could have a Metroid game without Samus, but the whole point of Metroid is, and at least in my opinion, is Samus's story. And without that, I feel like, yes, it's going to be a fun, awesome game, but that's the point of the game.
Yeah, I think that if anything, the game feels a bit plain. I understand why Samus isn't included, with it being a Four Swords kind of game, but for Metroid, that's what it seems like to me. It obviously can't really include her unless you do some kind of palette swaps and get some other versions of Samus in there, but there it gets confusing. And therefore it just makes more sense not to include her. But then that also equally seems to me like it's not a true Metroid, it's not a proper Metroid, and then it doesn't quench the thirst that people have for Metroid. And it does just look a little plain. It looks like a Metroid, but like Nintendo kind of misread what people actually wanted. Because it seemed like people either wanted this full 2D experience or a full 3D experience. And it seems like you've got half of a 3D experience to me. I don't know whether you guys agree with that at all.
I feel like this Metroid game almost isn't canon. Like, I mean, they're obviously not going to say that now because it, you know, I mean, they did that with Hyrule Warriors. It's not going to be something that's like super centric in the story. I think it's kind of the side thing that happened, but I think it's more just about, I think this is one of the games that's more about just the gameplay element, trying to give that element of just isolation. You're still isolated, but you're isolated with, you know, 3 of your buddies or whatever, and it's, you know, it's between the 4 of you guys to try to figure out where you're going. I think the game's actually going to be really fun. I think it's going to get a lot of hate right now just because it's not what people wanted, but I think the game will actually be fun. I don't know if this is just me or the computer screen I was looking at it on, but I felt like the graphics were a little bit lower than what to expect for a 3DS, but that could just be just me looking at it weird.
Yeah, I agree. The graphics didn't seem quite up to par. We've seen games that, sure, they're somewhat stylized in some cases, but games like Fire Emblem Awakening and stuff like that, which have pretty fantastic graphics in comparison to this, or I thought that Link Between Worlds had quite nice graphics, whereas this just doesn't quite stand up. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't stand up to those.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of variety when it comes to 3DS games. Some games do look good. Some have that grainy... I know the resolution's naturally pretty low on the 3DS, but some of them just look grainier and, you know, more than others. I looked at it and I wasn't unimpressed. You know, it's an ambitious thing for the 3DS, and honestly, I don't think Hyrule Warriors Legends is gonna look anything that we're expecting. I just don't know how it could be possible. I feel like we shouldn't have high expectations when it comes to judging 3DS games until we get a chance to play them, you know.
I will admit, I had mixed feelings about Metroid Prime Federation Force, and that was mainly because of the trailer. I felt that the trailer did not do the game justice. If you look at the Treehouse gameplay, the game looks actually quite fun, but one thing I want want to point out is this. The title of the game is Metroid Prime. I thought the Prime series was finished. Does this imply we will get more Prime games in the future?
I've not a clue really. It could be anything though. I think that they teased Metroid a lot and it couldn't really just be for that, although knowing Nintendo it could well be. But I personally think that although that teasing for Metroid recently didn't really warrant just that announcement. So I think that they could well be working on a Metroid. I think even Nintendo are not that isolated from their fans to not realise that people want a full Metroid and that people want a Metroid from Retro. So I think it's definitely a possibility, but I think it'll be held off to the NX definitely now.
My frustration is we're not going to see anything new for a while now. We know what we have, and it's frustrating not knowing what they're working on, and it's frustrating realizing we probably won't know what they're working on until either the end of this year or the beginning of next. It's something we're going to have to wait and see because so many different studios work on so many different IPs. You know, it could be anything. No one expected Tropical Freeze, and they gave us that, you know.
Segueing to Super Mario Maker, even though we knew plenty about Super Mario Maker beforehand, why do you guys think the game took such a large part of the Direct?
I think that the game was shown off perfectly in the Nintendo World Championships, and I think everybody who watched that was sold on the game. I think today they kind of pushed it in your faces a bit too much. It seemed like they could have given a bit more time to something else, or maybe added in Fatal Frame or Project Cross Zone 2, or one of the games that they've just pushed a trailer out for afterwards. It would have made a bit more sense for me to do that than just dwell on Mario Maker with the weird thing with Miyamoto and Tezuka, where they're just talking about how they used to design games. It was nice, but it wasn't anything particularly special. It was filler. And I'm really hyped for Mario Maker, but it didn't do anything to extend that hype. It was there.
Well, with these events, Nintendo always focuses on first party stuff. That's what is a little different than, Sony and Microsoft. There were plenty of titles they could have showcased, like you said. Had they not spent such a bulk of this digital event talking about Mario and talking about the creation of Mario and doing montages about Mario, we would have gotten maybe 30 minutes. Instead, they stretched it out to an hour with stuff that really didn't even pertain to anything we wanted to know about. Mario Maker looks like fun. We already know so much about Mario Maker, and no matter how much they push it on us, I do not see Mario Maker being a system seller. It's just not. It's not going to be a system seller. It's going to be some fun, but they're wasting their time, and they kind of, in my opinion, brought down their digital event with it.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that that's one of the huge problems with Nintendo as of recent. It's obviously not something that's detrimental, but it does annoy me a little bit how they keep showing off these games. Like, I am so excited for Mario Maker, and I'm so excited for Xenoblade Chronicles X, but please stop showing them now. I've seen enough of them, I get what they are, and I want a bit of a surprise when I actually buy them. I'm going to buy them now, and I'm sure many people agree with that opinion and are sold on them, but we don't need to see, the main character running through a field again, or fighting another monster. We don't need to see another level in Mario Maker, because we know what a Mario game looks like, and we've seen in the Nintendo World Championships, and before then, how crazy it can get. So I think that's it. I think they just need to concentrate on new stuff or stuff they haven't concentrated as much on. And they did that well with Star Fox. It was just a shame that they didn't do it with much else.
I think I'm calling money on this. I honestly think we are going to see Mario Maker within 6 months of Mario Maker getting released, an announcement for a 3DS version of Mario Maker. I think it just makes sense. It's not going to be super hard to do, and I think that will probably even see more success than this Wii U version of it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. They've done it in the past, haven't they? I mean, we've seen it just now with Hyrule Warriors, but I think they've done it before as well with their NES Remix, after they said that NES Remix couldn't run on the 3DS for some reason. So I think it's very possible, and yeah, it'll sell far better. Just by the simple fact of the install base.
The 3DS has so much longer of a lifetime, and we'll be seeing it a lot longer in the future, and we don't know how much time we have with the Wii U.
Speaking about Mario and Luigi Paper Jam has been revealed. We were suspecting that a Paper Mario game was going to be revealed, and we kind of got it. The game is a mix between the Mario and Luigi series with the Paper Mario series. The game does look interesting, and I was wondering what are your guys' thoughts about it?
I mean, I can't say anyone who was waiting for a Paper Mario game got their wish. It is not, in my opinion, and from what they've advertised as, a Paper Mario game. It's a Mario and Luigi game, and the Mario and Luigi games always have a gimmick. The first one was their first one, you know, they didn't need a gimmick, it was an RPG. The second one, they had their baby forms. The third one, you played as Bowser. The fourth one, you go into Luigi's dreams. The fifth one, Paper Mario follows you around. That's what it is. You know, it is Mario and Luigi. I'm excited. I loved Bowser's Inside Story. Dream Team was a huge letdown. They completely casualized the game with just tutorial and dialogue, and it killed the pacing. So if they can kind of fix their hiccup on their last entry, but this will definitely give me an interesting taste and a enjoyable game.
Yeah, I think that it is a game that's going to be a lot of fun for people. It'll be fun, and you know, people will enjoy it. It's not a huge title though. It may have actually been a bigger title if it was a Paper Mario game. They seem to be a bit more popular by just what I've seen and just by their more vocal fan base. But I am nevertheless thinking that this could be a really good game. Am I going to pick it up? Well, I'm still yet to be convinced, and you know, we'll see.
Again, on the topic of Mario, we finally did get a Mario sports game, which is Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. Additionally, we did see the new Animal Crossing game for Wii U, only that it is more like a party game of some kind. This game is receiving a lot of negative feedback, so what do you think about this game?
I mean, Nintendo is trying something new, give them credit for that. I don't know why they didn't just go ahead and make a new Animal Crossing. There was so much potential. You know, they're trying something new with the home designer, they're trying something new with the festival. I just feel like there's a common trend with this E3 where, hey, yeah, we got a game in this series, but it's not what we want. You know, that's what they've done with every single title. I think this move was foolish for the more dedicated fans. I have no doubt it's going to sell. It's Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing has a very casual audience. No offense, but a lot of people buy Animal Crossing who don't buy other Nintendo games. As for how many of those people actually own a Wii U to buy this in the first place, we're going to have to see. I'm not very excited to try it out. It didn't look very fun because it didn't look like there were very many games, and it just felt like Fortune Street with Animal Crossing and motivation to buy Amiibo.
What it kind of looked like to me was Mario Party, but you take out the Mario and replace it with Animal Crossing. You take out the party because there's no party games in there. So, or seemingly there's no party games in there, but they seem to replace it with text, and I'm not really into mounds of text bubbles for no reason. Yeah, that's just what it seems like to me, and of course it is going to get more hate than it would have otherwise, because we aren't getting a mainline Animal Crossing game, and of course it seemed like we were going to get that because there's been hints at it before. So it's going to disappoint a lot of people. It disappointed me, and it generally disappointed everyone in our live stream, because we all kind of had a simultaneous moment of realization when we realized it wasn't an actual Animal Crossing, and I'm sure everybody did really. And yeah, it's just it's not the best of situations, and it won't sell too well, I don't think.
Amiibo, they sell no matter what. People are going to buy the Amiibo that come out for this game before they're going to buy the actual game. And they're trying to make a board game that's different from Mario Party. They're trying to make it like a Life, you know, the board game Life. It's the Animal Crossing version of that, essentially. But this shouldn't be a standalone game. It should either be a small, like, arcade type game that's significantly less than a full standalone game, or they should have made this a mini game in an Animal Crossing game. That could have worked just fine. But the fact that they're trying to market this as like a full game experience, I don't think that's something that people are going to attach to. And if you look at the YouTube trailer of this, the likes to dislikes on that video, it's like, when I checked it last, it was 350 likes to 2,600 dislikes. Wow. So, I mean, that's really bad. So
Yeah, that's really terrible, and it seems to be a theme with Animal Crossing with the past 2 game announcements, that we get an experience that doesn't seem to be a full experience with this and then Happy Home Designer. And of course they expanded on that a bit, but nevertheless it doesn't seem like a full experience, and they're marketing it and putting it out as a full retail price game, and it just doesn't seem to fly with me. And on top of that, they're putting the amiibo on there, so that's even more money, and it just seems to be a lot for not as much of an experience as you got in New Leaf.
Do we know if it's going to be a full retail game?
Right, no, so we don't. Sorry, that was a bit of a presumption.
I mean, it could. The saving grace here could be that it turns out to be a $20 digital game like Rumble Blast. You know, if that's the case, that would be great, because I can't honestly imagine going into like GameStop, looking on the shelf and seeing Amiibo Festival sitting there on the shelf next to the Amiibos. Like, that would just be ridiculous. It would just be silly. If they were going to make this a digital-only, cheaper budget title, that would be awesome. I would imagine they would have said that beforehand. We'll just have to wait and see.
I think the way that, even if you look at the way it's labeled, like it says Amiibo in like big letters, and then Animal Crossing is just in tiny letters at the top, which makes me think that like the scheme of this, the bigger plan was they were going to release several different types of games, board games that use Amiibo as the main focus. If this game is like you said, $10 or $20, I wouldn't even mind picking that up and trying it out, because it could be cool to see a bunch of board games based on other Nintendo franchises. But the way that they're presenting it, as if it's like some big revolutionary thing that everyone should be excited for, it's not. People aren't excited for it.
Segueing over to Fire Emblem, we did get a localization for Fire Emblem If. Now it is called Fire Emblem Fates. We did receive a new trailer, but largely we already know much about the game. However, we did see a new trailer for Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. Also, Chrom looks like some sort of a dark overlord who rips beating hearts from people's chests. The game looks interesting, so what are your impressions?
I am actually really quite excited for Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. Just aesthetically, it looks pretty cool, and I like normal turn-based RPGs, and this seems to offer somewhat of a unique experience on the Wii U, and it is that turn-based RPG experience, like a proper JRPG. And yes, it's very J-poppy, there was a lot of weird jiggling and stuff, but it did look very fun.
When I saw the first trailer for this game, and I think everyone remembers the live event, and people just freaked out. They were like, this is Shin Megami, Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. This is the game we've been waiting for. There was so much whiplash, and I really liked it. But I also really like everything in this series. I like Atlas games. I love Fire Emblem games. I played them all, and I was so delightfully surprised that we weren't just playing a mashup like Project Cross Zone, where people are just put in this universe and fighting each other for absolutely no point. It's not some turn-based game where you're using Marth to go against other protagonists or demons. This isn't a cross-up. It just seems like its own entirely new, entirely different game. And I feel like that's how people need to look at it. They need to stop looking at it as a fanfic of all of their favorite series and characters and just look at it as something completely new. And as far as Fire Emblem on the 3DS, Fire Emblem Fates, all I need at this point is a release date. I already know everything I need to know about it.
Speaking about the Direct as a whole, it seems to me that Nintendo is shifting resources away from the Wii U and more to the NX. Reggie actually mentioned the NX at the Direct, so with the lack of the project that Retro is working on, do you think Nintendo is focusing entirely on the NX?
I feel like there's no other way to look at it, because this E3 was focused on 2015 and early 2016. They said we're going to hear about the NX in 2016, so we're going to have it revealed at next E3. What better to reveal it with than games? It just makes sense. That's probably why they didn't focus on games that were upcoming in the next few years, because they don't have any plan for the Wii U.
No, I can only see it being a case of them now moving on to the NX, and I definitely think that we may actually see Retro's big game that they're working on, and of course they could be working on two, because Retro are quite a big developer now. They've been expanding recently, and it is known that they have two teams, so they may be working on two. But we can see a Retro game at launch of the NX, we could see maybe the Zelda game at the launch of the NX with that dual release on the Wii U and the NX, like Twilight Princess, and maybe we'll also see a 3D Mario at the start of the NX. Not necessarily all three of those at launch, but in that launch period. And I think that they would be smart to do that, because that would sell a lot of units. That would sell a console so well.
All things considered, the Direct is decent, but nothing too special or surprising. I am warming up to Federation Force, and I'm really interested in Star Fox and Triforce Heroes. But what do you guys think about the Direct? Anyways, this has been M Productions,
Tin Man.
Maka from Nintendo Box.
And Elijah from the YouTube channel Dolphin Phobia.
and we will see you guys another time. Have a good one.
Yeah.